Oh, 6:30, yeah, I need to change that. I had her correct my name, so, but I missed that part.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's a roll call.
Yes.
Okay. For roll call, Mayor Luma,
Here.
Ball. Here. Nichols,
Yes.
Miller,
Here.
Mater,
Yes.
Walti,
Here.
Weingartner. Yes.
The minutes of last meeting were read and approved. I believe, Mr. Miller, you have a correction.
Yeah. Corrections, the meeting was at 6:30 last month, instead of 7:30.
Any other corrections?
I have 16 corrections.
The name I corrected already, Nathan. My spelling of my name.
We've got the master copy for the minutes. Those will be corrected in the master copy.
Okay.
Laura already did it.
Nathan, I already did all the names.
Okay, it's good. Then. Anything else?
So is that your 16?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is your name Ellie?
It's Ellie, and autocorrect corrected it when I was typing them up last time.
I
So
would have thought this was.
it was, yeah.
All right, minutes were approved, at once, all the corrections have been made, so. Okay, fiscal officer report.
Okay, I'm not sure what all you guys prefer, but you all have the financial reports in there. For everyone that doesn't know me, I'm Laura, because I don't think I've met everybody. I have the bank rec here. I have a form on the front of it. I always require every council member to sign the form to show that you've seen the bank rec and that everything has reconciled. And it's down here on the bottom. Yes, on the bottom in this blank line. I also have a report page that we use in Lafayette that is in UAN that's easy to generate, and it's all the reports that you received. It requires each of you to sign your name 6 times, but it's showing that you've actually received those reports, so that you've got them, for your own records. It's also used in reference to, I know you guys have a file of all the bills here. We don't sign every bill. We just sign this to acknowledge that you've looked at every bill, and it keeps you from signing your name 50 times, 100 times, whatever. That's up to you guys if that's the way you want to do it, but that's how we do it, and that's how every entity that I've worked with has done it.
That's what we've always done in the past, I hate to say it, but.
I'm sorry?
That's what we've always done in the past, I hate to say it, but.
Is it required by law that they sign every bill individually, or is there something that?
I'm going to say no. I've never had a findings on it whatsoever, but Jeff might say otherwise.
No, Spencerville, they just pass them around and have them all sign with their signing. Now, Caro, I don't think they actually sign the checks, they're just signing that they're paying bills or whatever, yeah, so they're signing some off that they've officially seen it.
Right, exactly. That's the way we do it, and all the entities that I've worked with, township and village, that's the way we do it. So everybody has to see them, just know.
We can just
Yeah, we just do that.
Well,
Everybody's
yeah,
welcome
yeah.
to that.
It's up to you guys. You're the two that have to sign it, so the finance committee.
So where do I sign? To sign each report, or 6 lines, yes, there's 6 lines for each one of you
I
too.
think there's this one.
That's just all.
That's all.
And then what I do is I just send the reports that I've copied for myself so that it's on hand for the auditors, to show that you've received
Not
it.
just right.
I'll bring back to when this one goes. I'll take it.
Okay.
When it's to me. But that'll save.
Ignore that little D that's
You haven't got your steps in today yet?
Yeah, I have not. Too wet.
This is true. Wow. They'd shut off any time now.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on. Bills were read, resolution 23-1-1 was adopted on motion by,
So moved.
second.
Second.
There was a question regarding this. We talked about this prior to the meeting. It should actually be, if it's going to be a resolution passed, it should be 23-2-1 since we're in February. However, in consulting with the solicitor,
I've never had any village pass an actual resolution to pay the bills.
Thank you. We
Yeah,
talked
they
about that as well.
They just make a motion to pay the bills.
Right.
Otherwise, you're gonna have to suspend the rules and declare an emergency to pay bills and all that shit. It's just normal business of the legislative authority, so you don't need to do a resolution to pay bills.
So just a motion to pay the bills?
Okay.
Is that all your finance committee seen?
So the motion was made by Miller, seconded by Nichols.
She'll get we're ready whenever you are. You call the roll.
You call the roll if you want to.
It don't matter, go ahead.
Okay. Ball.
Here.
Yes or no?
Oh.
Motion to pay the bills?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Wolfie?
Yes.
Weinberg?
Yes.
Okay, our guest is running late, so. Guess we'll go to the police report.
You want to do committee reports
Oh, yeah.
for that?
You guys, for Laura's sake, if we make a first or a second, say your name, because she doesn't know us all.
I am typing as we go too, so I'll do my best to.
Okay.
All right, committee reports.
The street committee, we met, February 6th at 6 p.m. and everybody should have a copy of the minutes there. I'll read through the whole thing. But we had a couple guests that was concerned. I think they were satisfied what was said. And the next meeting will be on next month on the 13th at the same time, 6 p.m.
You got to be up here, in here, Bill?
Yes.
Is this gonna be big enough for
That's the
everybody?
street. What's that?
Was this gonna be big enough for everybody?
Well,
This is gonna be kind of open meeting, isn't it?
Yeah, it was before.
Okay,
It was in two.
okay.
We might have to rotate them every 5 minutes.
So that's the open meeting.
You're the chairman, buddy.
For the streets.
Get a traffic cop there,
I'm sorry, Tim, I didn't, at 6:30,
6 p.m.
On March 13th.
March 13th. I remember the next, you want me to?
Oh, I go.
Okay, I'm trying to find mine first.
The Utilities Committee met on February 8th. Same as Tim, I'm not gonna read through all of it. Kind of the high points were, we discussed, line worker training for village employees. Aaron provided an update on the Moyer Road residents, which I'm sure he'll talk about in his report. We discussed some grants, which he will cover as well, that was exciting. And, there was, some discussion of the possibility of doing, bulk water sales. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, Records Committee did not meet this month, simply because we, there wasn't any response yet back from I'd given the mayor at our last meeting the folders to give out to different department heads so we'd know what records needed to be retained so we could create a record retention document. And none of those have been given back yet, so we really didn't have anything to meet about. So we canceled that meeting. The zoning board did meet, and we are to the point, I'm happy to say that we're ready to send it to a typist to have it typed. We've got a few items to clear up and take care of, but we're well on our way to meeting the goal of getting things solidified and open sessions and everything done, and the ordinance is in place by June or July. On the sheet that I gave you, the cover sheet had items that we would like council to discuss and give us direction on. The first item was the council has designated, who has council designated as code enforcement officer. There's an existing ordinance that states it is the police chief, as it's the council's pleasure to keep the code enforcement, not the zoning inspector. Those are two different people. They're two different job descriptions under Ohio Revised Code or whatever, but anyways, is it our intent to keep the police chief as the code enforcement officer?
I think that'd be a very, very good idea, because he's been that now.
Kind of familiar with it.
Yeah, to change it would be.
Yeah, that's fine, we just wanted to know what to put in the document. So, if police chief is the answer, then that's what we'll put in the document. We want to be able to, Jeff, we want to give you the compliance section of the document to review and make sure that we are, and I apologize, I did not bring a copy of that, but I can send it to you electronically, okay? And review and give us guidance before we go, we want to do this or that, because obviously it has to be by ORC, so if we could send that to you, that would be what we want to do. And so then the third item that we need direction on is how to proceed to hire someone to type it professionally. I have someone who is willing to do it, but I do not have the power to issue a check to anyone, nor do I want that power. So I need to know what the process would be to hire someone to do that job.
Just pass a resolution.
Okay.
Council just need to pass the
Her
resolution.
name is Tricia Krager. She works at Apollo. She's their financial person. She was, just as full disclosure, she was my secretarial support staff when I worked at Rhodes. She was mine and the nursing and everybody, but
You
she's
paying her
very
hourly, you paying her flat fee?
She has looked at the document, which is over 50 pages long, and she, by formatting and all of that, she's saying $500. And I did not share with her what we had budgeted. She sent that to me. It's gonna take some time.
No, that's fine. I mean, as long as you have a set amount,
Mhm.
you just need to pass the resolution that you're gonna hire her to.
And we
just
have
for a
that
specific purpose.
amount appropriated. So it's, I would need a motion from the floor to hire her to do that. Is it a resolution, Jeff?
Yeah, you can probably just pass a motion. I don't think you need to do a resolution, but, I mean, it needs to at least go through, be on public record that that the village is hiring her just for that.
Mhm.
And then she just needs to bill us.
Okay.
And an invoice. As long as there's something.
Tricia Krager.
Her name-
Tricia.
For the record, her name's Tricia, Trisha, Krager, Kroeger. It actually looks like Kroger, but it's pronounced Krager.
Okay, then I'll make a motion that we hire Tricia Krager for $500 to type up the document for Zoom.
I'll second that. Sorry about that.
So,
Bob Miller.
Oh,
who got it?
Deborah
Miller?
made I made the motion. I made it.
Paul made the motion, seconded by Miller, to hire Trish Krager to type the, we catch up real quick. To type the.
And that's all from the zoning commission.
Okay, vote Ball?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Mater?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Walty?
Yes.
Weingartner?
Yes.
I apologize, we did have one other item that I forgot to put on that list. It just dawned on me as I was looking. We'll need to think about, and we don't necessarily have to make a decision tonight, but council will need to think about, and Jeff, you may need to give us direction on whether this document will replace all previous zoning, or if there's wording that says it replaces only what it addresses, or how
Did you guys
we.
address the entire zoning ordinance?
I think we have,
Because otherwise you'll just,
you
it
shoot yourself in
abolishes and replaces the
the. Okay,
prior zoning ordinances, all the language that will do.
okay, thank you.
I would just maybe in your next meeting, before we actually send it out to the public, is go back through the old one and make sure there's nothing that you guys missed.
I would say, in talking with Tricia and looking at the length of the document, we may not have it by next month, but she's gonna try. So as soon as we get it typed in a format, then I will send it out for people to review. And then we can, so hopefully next month or the following month.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And we'll be sending it to you as well, Jeff, to review the whole document.
That's fine.
Lisa, is there anything in the zoning dealing with solar?
I'm sorry, yeah,
Is there anything in the zoning dealing with, solar power?
what?
Solar power.
Solar power.
Solar power. Not at this time, that I'm aware of.
Are you aware of any?
Okay. Is there something you want us to look into?
Well, I think it would be.
I apologize, yes, there is. It's wind power though. There is some, and I can't tell you off the top of my head, but there is some regulations about, wind power, specifically the
The wind turbine.
Windmills?
turbines, windmills, yeah. But I don't think there is in relation to solar panels or solar powers on roads.
So do we need to address that?
I mean, obviously, that's the technology going forward, so I think it needs to be in the zoning ordinances.
Whether it covers a certain percentage of roof lines or property lines.
Yeah. Or whether the villages can even allow it.
And I can certainly bring that
They have
to
to allow
to the commission. I know we talked about it, but there are a few straggling issues that we're trying to clean up as we go through the document again. So, solar power, I can make a note of that. And
That's a good one.
do you know if, Jeff, do you know if any other villages have? Would you have anything for, an example for us?
Spencerville's redoing theirs, so I can ask them if they have anything with solar power in theirs zoning ordinances.
I looked at a couple today and it didn't jump right out, so.
Nothing very restrictive or anything like that.
We'll look, see what we can find. I mean,
It's something new that a lot
yeah,
of.
it's kind of hard to tell someone how much of their own roof they can put something on, but I guess we can. You can tell them where to put a fence, I guess we can tell them how much of their roof they can use for solar panels.
Whether or not you want, if they can't put them on their roof because of the pitch or whatever, then whether or not you're gonna allow them on their property line and how far setback.
Yes,
If
Yeah.
you're gonna have them on their property and how tall.
Setbacks and how much percent coverage of your lot you can cover would be
Yeah.
the biggest two things.
Yeah. If you have a pretty big yard, I mean,
And
your
then-
roof and your whole yard and everything else,
hey,
create your own solar
And
farm
then-
in your yard if you want.
I don't know, Aaron, if from the electric side, I know, we had issues with the solar
Mhm.
out here outside of town, and there had to be a specific kind of some technology on it so that it didn't backfeed the lines, and
Mhm. Yeah,
that would be addressed through the electric company.
that would be addressed on the electric side of things. I have been in touch with AMP about that. We're
Okay.
working on hopefully count something next month to look at. And
Okay.
it kind of goes in my opinion, kind of goes hand in hand with the zoning, because we don't want to, you can't say you can't have it. You know, we want to make sure that it's available, but we just want to make sure it's neighbor friendly, if you will,
Sure.
as far as the
Sure,
zoning side.
no, I agree 100%, it's just not something that has come to our attention, so I
Mhm.
appreciate it. Certainly, we'll take it to the committee and see what we can find. Thank you.
Any other committee reports? Right, now we'll go to the police report.
All right. Under the property maintenance, update, you will see, 205 East Mulberry Street, sorry. It says unknown update, issue still a problem. We have sent a final warning letter, certified mail to that property owner. That's right down the street here. The garage is collapsed, major safety issue. At the advice of the attorney, sending him one final letter, letting him know that we will be conducting demolition on that property after March the 1st. We've yet to receive the confirmation of the delivery of the certified letter. We're going to see where that goes, but he has had, all opportunities to request a hearing before the property maintenance committee. He has not done so. He's not, done anything with the property either. So, we have unconfirmed reports that the property may be for sale. So, hopefully we can get this taken care of prior to the sale of the property, and then, the property will be assessed the demolition costs for that building.
Anybody have a realtor friend?
I've heard from a realtor that he is for sale.
Is it on MLS? I think there's a
I
sign.
don't know, but it's,
There's signs now.
yeah,
Is it?
I've heard, but, yeah. It's my question, and I brought it to Nathan's attention that realtor had said it was for sale. My question, I guess, to you, Jeff, is if it sells between now and March, is there anything the village can do to protect or put a lien on it, or so that we don't have to start all over again?
Well, the village has already passed the resolution, so
Mhm.
to me, the resolution stands with the property, because the property hasn't been fixed. But yeah, if the property,
Changes hands, we don't wanna create a whole nother nightmare.
But I have a question.
I would assume you would have to start the process over, so. Because we already passed the resolution, and he had his 30 days to appeal, and it's just a matter of getting the company down there to tear it down and charge it against his tax duplicate, so.
Right, and that letter was literally just a courtesy. I mean, it was a courtesy letter saying, look, after March 1, we're tearing it down. We've got all the paperwork to show we've gone above and beyond to try to work with him, and he's completely just blown
You
it
guys
off.
can show up March 2nd and tear it down.
I think we're beyond courtesy at this point, because now, if it sells,
Right,
we're back to square zero, and we got a property that's dangerous.
right.
I don't know how quick the auditors can get it onto the tax duplicate, but if it does sell, then you're most likely gonna get that money back in the closing.
Right, that was the other thing
Because
the
they
realtor
have
told me, it's
taxes
like,
and stuff like that.
you get it on the taxes, then they have to pay for
We
it.
passed that resolution back in what, September, October?
September. Yeah, the challenge is gonna be whoever does the demolition, by the time they invoice us and we get the invoice and we get it filed. I mean, it's gonna take a little bit of time, especially with being in transition with the fiscal officer position, that type of thing. But certainly if we tear it down, you know, it can always, well, I don't know, could it go back on the seller, even if they do get it sold? We have to pursue something that way.
That's my question.
Yeah.
So the seller will be still responsible for it?
Do what?
Not necessarily.
The seller will still be responsible for paying for it?
Could that be?
Because the only way the village collects their money is they put it against the tax duplicate. So it goes against the property, and if the property sells between now and by the time you guys can, file it with the auditor's office,
So he's only got 2 days.
then the new owner of the property should not be held responsible for that.
But once it sells, our only, I don't know, I could be wrong, our only recourse is to put it on the tax duplicate. And then it would be between the new property owner and the old property owner to fight it out to see who pays it. Somebody's got to pay the taxes, and whoever is liable for the taxes. It's not gonna be our problem. It's gonna be, ethically, the existing property owner
Should pay for
should
it.
tell the buyer, this is potential, but, that's between them and the buyer.
That could be contingent on the sale, that maybe he
We
sells
don't have
it
anything.
cheap and the new owner
We don't have any
pays
idea.
for it.
He's not telling them that.
So here's the thing,
Okay.
if there was a demolition order posted on the property, on the front door of the residence, for instance, whether the property sells or doesn't sell, there's a demolition order on, I think we probably have to post that anyway, correct?
Mhm.
So, which we need to get that from you, but, we post a demolition order that, we're not gonna get it tore down on March the 1st or March the 2nd anyway. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So if we put a demolition order of March 15th or whatever that magic date is, posted on the door, and then if the property sells, whoever buys the property is gonna have that, is on notice.
Does anyone know who the realtor is that's selling it?
I do not, and it wasn't the realtor. I could probably find out. Is it Binkley? There's a sign up there. There's a sign up there.
That's next door, the
house
property
next
next door
door.
is for
Next
sale.
door.
Mhm.
Okay.
If anybody, if you could find out who the realtor is, number one, is it for sale? And then contact the realtor and give them a copy of the resolution, so that way
I
the
can
realtor's on notice,
I
and
can
they have a duty.
send a
to
text
notify any
very
potential
quickly and
buyer.
maybe get an answer.
I mean, that's one way, is find out who the realtor is, send them the resolution that was passed, that this is gonna be demolished. That way, they now have a duty to tell any potential buyers. So that way, any potential buyers on notice.
They get sued for not disclosing that too, right?
Yeah, but that's not our problem.
No, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
I mean, you know,
we're being nice to the realtor.
we would like to help.
Well, the owner who owns it now needs to disclose that.
Right. And obviously, if a new owner were to have the property, inspected, it would never pass inspection, ever. So it would have to be almost a cash deal, because no bank would approve a loan on that whole property. Okay, well, if you could email me the demolition order so we can get that posted and move forward on that. Okay, moving on, you can see the other PMC updates. Council meetings, beginning tonight, council meetings are being streamed on the Village of Waynesfield YouTube page and on Facebook Live. There's a request to stream on the platform different than Facebook to those who have been banned from Facebook, or those who don't have it, but do have access to YouTube. So the streaming software that we use actually allows for that dual stream to take place. So it's basically just 2 more clicks. It's not that big a deal to add that. The community development team will meet again on March the 8th. We've asked the village administrator to be present, as there are some ideas being floated around regarding park enhancements that the CDT could potentially help with. The CDT is also exploring some potential partnerships and funding sources at the state level in order to help the community. Still premature to go into details, but I am cautiously optimistic about some future opportunities for the Waynesfield Ocean community. For several years, I've provided roadway updates on Facebook Live during inclement weather. For the most part, feedback has been positive, as it provides the community direct insight on the condition of the roads to help them decide whether or not to venture out. By doing these updates, it also decreases the number of calls and messages we receive asking about travel on our roads, road levels, all that type of thing. One particular update on January 26th was seen by over 26,000 viewers, more than what's in this area. What I learned was people from all over the United States watched that video because they had family in our region. So we were able to help our local folks and people who were concerned about their loved ones. And if anyone asks, I do the Facebook Live video recordings on my phone in a very safe and legal manner. My phone's placed in a secure holster, and I use a wireless microphone. This ensures a complete hands-free experience and is no different than talking to a person who is sitting in the vehicle with me. Over the course of the last month, we've seen an uptick in the number of scams being reported. Not only are there a ton of spam calls being made, we're also seeing a large quantity of email and social media scams. The email scams are particularly dangerous because they look like legitimate emails from known companies like Amazon or FedEx.
And Social Security.
Social Security is a big one too, yeah. They will start off by saying you have a delivery that needs confirmed, and the directions are to click a link or open an attachment. And once you do that, your device is then infected with a virus, so your personal information can be compromised, oftentimes unknowingly. The social media scams are usually in the form of private messages being sent to an individual from an account that looks like someone you know. The conversation becomes very odd, and eventually the computer or person on the other end ends up asking for money. If you don't agree to send money via Venmo, PayPal, etc., then they start to threaten you in order to try to get you to comply. From a law enforcement perspective, phone, email, and social media scams are very difficult to investigate because the suspects do a great job at creating layers of protection for themselves. And often our state justice system doesn't like to take up such cases because it's difficult to determine jurisdiction. Oftentimes it's overseas. So unless the victim loses a substantial amount of money, which is generally $50,000 or more, then our federal partners, the FBI, won't take up the case. So it is a very big problem. So if it looks suspicious, delete it, ignore it, just don't deal with it. And anybody we talk with, I mean, we get calls all the time on scams. So if anybody has any questions, you can send them my way, or if you want to help them out, just tell them to.
We've even been getting things from like friends that says, hey, do you know
Yep.
so-and-so died?
Oh, yeah.
And so you're immediately want to click on it, and
Yep.
then I didn't.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they are saying awful things that would make you want to go, oh my God, let me read about this.
We've had one particular scam in this area, not in Waynesfield, but in the surrounding area, where someone will call and they'll target elderly people, and they'll call and say, Grandma, Grandpa, whatever the voice sounds like on the other end, I'm in jail, I need you to send me money, and oftentimes they'll give the credit card information right over the phone, and next thing you know, they're losing a lot of money. So it's always good to be suspicious on calls like that. Okay. Officer Humes is back to work following knee surgery. He's typically working weekends, and he's told me he's glad to be back. He was back on Friday. The last piece of information I have for you tonight, actually I have two pieces. Before I get to the last piece, I will report probably next month on some grant money that the police department was just awarded that will help with some of our infrastructure, but I'll just give you a cliffhanger so you have to come back next month. So we do have some good news on that front. The last piece of information I have for you tonight is regarding the total solar eclipse coming to Ohio in April of 2024. We recently had another meeting regarding the logistical planning of the event, which is April 8th of 2024. As I mentioned before, Auglaize County, and specifically Waynesfield, is directly in the path of the total solar eclipse. The last time this happened was in 1806, and the next one will not happen in Ohio until 2099. Most of us will not see that. Only 21 total solar eclipses have crossed the lower 48 states in the entire existence of the U.S., as we were known as the U.S. The state of Ohio is really pushing this event as a way to market local communities, encouraging people to arrive early and stay late and see what West Central Ohio has to offer. Auglaize County is expecting to see 5 to 10 times the population of our entire county. More than likely, the greatest influx of people will occur in Wapak, with its ties to the Neil Armstrong Air and Space Museum, I-75 and 33. In fact, I'm told all the hotels in Wapak area, in the Wapakoneta area, are already reserved for the weekend of April 6th through the 9th, and we also learned that people are inquiring about camping at the Auglaize County Fairgrounds, as well as private farmlands in Auglaize County. That said, we are likely to experience an influx of people who may not want the madness that's likely to occur in Wapakoneta. So I do have a couple questions for council to consider as the planning of this date continues. One, do you want to list an official viewing location for the solar eclipse in Waynesfield, such as the park? The state's website, www.eclipse.ohio.gov, has viewing locations listed, but there are not currently any locations listed in Waynesfield. Secondly, does the Village of Waynesfield want to sponsor or encourage any type of event during the weekend, that weekend? A festival, solar glasses giveaway, a 5K running and walking race, or anything like that? And that's just, these are ideas I'm throwing out to council. And thirdly, if the village has someone that wants to rent the park or camp in the park the weekend of the eclipse, how is that going to be handled? Because someone did approach the Auglaize County Fairgrounds and they wanted to rent out the entire fairgrounds, and the fair board was kind of caught off guard. So I don't want us to be caught off guard if somebody says, hey, I'm going to put 150 campers out in the park and I want to rent the park for $50. So council needs to consider.
Actually, that's a neat idea, I think, but
So-
we have to provide them with.
Well, yeah, there's some infrastructure things that would have to be considered. So those are ideas. You don't have to have answers tonight, just to kind of throw out there. Also, I wanted to note that school will not be in session on Monday, April the 8th, the day of the eclipse, because the timing of the eclipse would be right when school's letting out, and they're concerned about traffic issues and buses being on the road and that type of thing. So they just planned on not having school that day. So we will have another meeting this April, and I plan to attend and gather as much information as possible. From a law enforcement perspective, we're looking at safety contingency plans. We may have other law enforcement from other counties and other areas in the state here to assist us if we need this weekend. And I'm not just talking about in Waynesfield, but in Auglaize County in general. More than likely, there'll be troopers from around the state coming in. But the April meeting should include conversations about what we can see as far as that goes.
My biggest concern, Nathan, is logistics from a law enforcement standpoint for us, since we have such a small,
So in April, we're going to talk about that as far as, again, like the Highway Patrol plans on sending troopers from maybe the southeastern part of the state up this way. We will be discussing contingency plans in the event that there's an EMS call or a fire call during that moment, and the whole weekend, really, because while I expect the greatest concentration being over in Wapak because of, the Neil Armstrong Museum and everything, we still need to be ready, because there are people that will come from multiple states away just to do it, and they don't want to fight that crowd. They'll trickle over this way. We need to have a good place for them to view, and I've spoken with the school. They're still looking at different options as far as viewing, maybe at the football stadium, that type of thing. We are also talking early spring, so who knows what the weather is going to be like. It could be overcast and rainy, but it's still going to get really dark here. So for a period of about you know, the actual full eclipse is only like 6 minutes long, but it's gonna be dark for about a half hour because as the sun and the moon line up and everything, it's gonna get dark. So, street lights will activate and everything like that. So, so there are some things that I know Aaron and I will be working on as far as if the park is used as a viewing location, shutting the, you know, the lights off in the park so people can actually view it and all that kind of stuff.
Any conversations with fire and EMS?
Yeah, so fire and EMS, the school officials, I know the mayor, myself, we all get emails and everyone's invited to those meetings, those planning meetings. So, certainly they are all part, you know, all the fire departments and EMS are part of that, planning as well. So,
Is this something that council would be wise to create an ad hoc committee to help you with?
well, as far as helping me, I don't,
Or to look at
if council
options.
wants to do something that weekend, the idea is the state is really trying to is trying to push local tourism, I guess, for lack of a better term, which is why they've given these big flyers and all that kind of stuff. They really, you know, I know the Chambers of Commerce, the Walpole Chamber of Commerce, St. Mary's Chamber of Commerce, they're planning maybe a 5K race or something like that, but they're trying to draw people into the area. The idea is, you know, they want us to notify like Dollar General, the gas station, hey, there may be a huge influx of people, you might want to be stocked up, because they looked at, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, there was an eclipse down in Tennessee. It was a partial eclipse, and all the restaurants ran out of food. They ran out of fuel in places because they were not expecting people to come from all over. And so Ohio's trying to learn from what happened in Tennessee, so this doesn't, this doesn't happen here. So, you know, if council decides they want to create a committee, since we don't have a Chamber of Commerce locally, and you want to bounce ideas on what you could potentially do that weekend, you know, certainly it wouldn't hurt.
I'm not only concerned about ideas of what to do that weekend, but even if we don't have events, people are gonna look for the next areas out around Wapak, and we may
Right.
have, if we're not prepared,
Right.
we could have an influx of people and not be prepared for it.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, I threw those questions out there for council to consider, and if you want to create a committee, certainly that's up to you guys, to talk about those possibilities, and, you know, certainly we need to have a location, I think, in town, whether it be, coordinating with the school or just utilizing our park. You know, that's early enough. Baseball season will just have started, usually around April 1st they start, so, you know, the park should be back to normal hopefully by then. And so just in thinking, that would be the wide open area to view something like that. But you want to consider parking. And again, if somebody comes in here tomorrow and says, I want to rent out the whole park on that date or that whole weekend, and I'll pay you $150 a day.
Tonight, to not make that possible?
Well, I think what you do is, I wouldn't pass something tonight. I would definitely get a group of you together.
Okay, what if they call and say?
Then what we'll say is, if council wants to not reserve the park that weekend,
Okay.
you could even make a motion to not reserve that park.
That's
Until you determine what you want to do, you can say, you know, that, the village is going to reserve the park that weekend. So,
Yeah, that's what I meant.
and somebody could make a motion for that, motion was made, if you want to do this, motion was made by, Tim, do you want to?
Yeah,
make that
I make a motion that we do not rent the park for that weekend, April 6, 7, 8,
6, 7, and 8, yep.
and 2024.
I'll second Nichols.
Okay.
Does that eliminate if we decide that we want?
We could do something, but
The
no.
village could do something, but you're not allowing anyone from the outside.
So we really don't want to make some revenue and let people.
Well, that we can still do that then.
Yeah,
We can still do that. We're just not letting somebody rent it.
What you're doing right now,
Okay.
it costs
So one
$50.
person.
Yeah, it costs $50 a day to rent the park, and so
Okay.
conceivably, somebody could rent the park for 3 days for $150.
Okay.
Whereas if the village wanted to use it for a festival or something like that, well, sorry, you can't do it, the park's already rented, so
Well, that's
you're just,
selfish anyway.
well, it's, strange things happen. rent the, okay, so not rent the parks, April 6th through 8th of 2024. Okay, take the vote, Ball?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Mater?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Walty?
Yes.
Weingartner?
Yes.
Okay. Motion is passed. We'll make sure we get that in the calendar that the park is unavailable.
Okay. Anything else for the chief?
That property sold.
Oh, so how does that work?
That's what I just received from my realtor that it has sold.
So,
How does that work?
well, so,
That means-
well, first of all, we'll determine who purchased the property. And if we can talk them into demolishing the building, that's gonna save the village time and money. You know, ultimately, that's first, that's what we wanted to begin with. We wanted the property owner just to take care of it.
What if he doesn't know that that's necessary?
Oh, he'll know. He or she will know. Because as soon as we find out who the owner is, I'll make contact with them directly and
I
figure out.
just thought that should be in the sales contract.
So once we determine the owner, then we'll make contact with the owner and we'll get that process rolling. And then if we don't get any response within a very, very short time, we'll start the process over and go from there. But, okay.
It seems like a fraud in the sale. It's not.
Well,
We don't know what was disclosed.
no,
Yeah,
and they may have come and looked at it and said, yeah, we're gonna tear this down, we're gonna redo the house. I mean, investors do that all the time, so that's, we've had several properties in town like that.
All right, let's move on.
Yep.
Great, turn it over to you.
Okay. I'll give you guys this first, this kind of gives you an idea. I'm sure everybody's, as you just talked about the mess that they're making out here right now, which you always have to have a mess before you can have it done. This is the, when they do close the road, as they start to do the full improvements along the roadway there, this is a detour route. And basically what it'll show is it'll be open to local traffic, but there won't be any through truck traffic or through outside traffic anymore at that point.
I have a question. I was trying to go through that, I don't know, one Friday or Saturday, and the red light was on and it just didn't, and nobody was on the other end, so is it
It's on time.
closed?
It's on a timer. And so it stays red for a while.
It's
So
like
it's-
almost 4 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a long
It's
time.
longer than that, but.
Yeah. Well, and there's nothing around and you're just sitting there. It seems like a long time. I sat on it when I came in to talk to them one time. And most of the time in construction, they do set it fairly long, because that way, if they're doing something, they know which side they're looking at for traffic, especially when there's not that much to begin with. If it's flipping all the time, then they don't know necessarily which direction it's coming from. So that's fairly standard with construction lights like that. It'd be a little longer. So basically, and I brought a big one that you can post, so if people want to see this. But to give you an idea, obviously, and yeah, the little one's hard to look
Can I
at.
ask you to do
Yeah.
something for me, because your back is to the camera? If you could just move over to that way, so that you're parallel looking, so they can at least see your face, because everybody's always like, all I ever see is the back of their head, and I don't know what they're saying.
Maybe he wants to.
Yeah,
I
I don't know,
may
I
want
like
a
the
camera, but thank you.
He's incognito.
But yeah, so, you can post this one like the other one that you guys have, so you can have it, so anybody who wants to come. But pretty much, obviously, coming straight through town and coming, up and turning, there won't be any detour at all. So there won't be anything there, the road can be closed right here at the beginning. But then it'll be at St. John's, where 65 hits 67 there, where they'll be detoured coming in this way. And to go that way, they'll actually be detoured out at,
196?
Yep, 196. So they wouldn't come in, so then they wouldn't have to go out South Westminster and out the county road. So that's basically where the detours are. So all the trucks, for about a 2-month period, you're not gonna have the semis going through.
What about a school bus?
The school bus will be able to get through, but we'll have to basically coordinate with them, because when it all gets down, it's gonna be a stone subgrade that they're driving on for a little bit. but it's basically maintained where you can always get local traffic through, we can get fire
Even the large
through,
ones.
yeah, we can get, yeah.
Will the semis or whatever, the delivery trucks for Dollar General still be able to get through into there?
Yeah, but I don't think they have semis.
Or just delivery trucks, I think?
No, they have some.
Do they have a semi that goes in?
Sometimes
We might
they do.
contact them and let them know that for a couple months, that they're not, probably not gonna be able to get a semi through there.
Straight through.
Yeah, yeah, have to use box trucks.
The school's been notified too. They'll have it taken care of.
So yeah, so this, to give you an idea, this was a little bit an easier one. I should have brought a small one of these for you when I originally did this. It seemed like a better idea, so I could have it in one spot to talk about it. I apologize, I thought you guys still started at 7, so I'm missing whatever Aaron said at the beginning. I'm gonna kind of walk around and show you guys this. This was a mess that we kind of have. This is the water plant down here on the bottom. And we're coming through the park. So this is a street that we're doing up here. So from the park, there's a 4-inch water line that kind of shoots straight north. There's an 8-inch water line that kind of runs kind of caterwaup, however it wants to, through the park a little bit. At the time, I'm sure they were kind of moving around things, trying to put it best they could. But then there's another 6-inch that I didn't show that goes straight out to Southwest Minster Street. So there's 3 water lines presently that leave your water plant. The 4-inch is an old AC line. So it's not a very good line, it's not in very good shape. And in truth, the EPA is pretty much making everybody replace 4-inch lines because you can't put a hydrant on them and they can't hold the kind of pressure and flow that you need to do anything with. So what we originally did with this was we were bringing the 12 down and we were stubbing it out into the alley because we wanted to get all the new water line that we were going to put in the road done before we did any kind of reconstruction and have it out of the way. That way, for future, you never had to worry about any water lines there. Well, what we found is the old 4-inch comes up, kind of runs at an angle across the alley, then it comes right back across the alley, and then it comes up the alley, which somebody probably had something in the way at the time, and so that's how they ran it. So when we ran the storm, we hit it twice, so came across. Well, what we were looking at now is this line going up the alley isn't a good line. We didn't really know that before we started and before we saw the way it runs. So what we're looking at now is extending the 12 to get it at least down out of the alley. But to make things simpler and to actually make things work easier for the village, it would be nice to take it down here to just below, south of the substation. This is the substation, if everybody kind of understands how the park sits. That square is a substation.
If you took it just south of that, would we still have 4-inch line though? If you don't go all the way out?
We would, yes. And what we'd like to do is if we bring it to where I put that red circle, then we can hook the 8 in, and we can hook the 6 in that's going across, that kind of comes across, and then that comes over to Wayne Street here.
Would you abandon that 4-inch then, or that?
Yes, we'd like to get rid of that 4. Because like me and Aaron talked about, in the future, it makes perfect sense to eventually pick this 12 up and bring that 12 all the way to the plant. And then just have that 12 coming all the way up, and then that's going to become your main feed because that 12 feeds off to a 6, feeds off to an 8. You're going to have better water you're going to have throughout the village. I don't think you want to try to run it that whole way now. I think we want to try to find other grant money at some other point to take it farther. But we definitely want to get it through the alley at this point now that we know what do we have with this line. And unfortunately, and I know there's no way Aaron got a chance to look at it before now, but we don't really know where the 4 and the 6 crossed out here. The maps don't really show real well where it was, and we haven't really run across a valve yet. Now, I told Aaron I can't believe that somebody just put a cross in there and that we can't stop the flow. But what we've had is when we've hit these lines, we've had to shut like 8-10 valves off to try to isolate that flow. So we're probably going to have them come in and pothole where we think that cross is and see if we can find a valve or see if we can get down on it. Because ideally, we'd like to get this 6-inch extended with a new valve. Well, we don't know if the valve works or not because we can't tell where the flow is coming from. But run that, and right now off this kind of crappy 6, there are 2 services, one for each of these 2 houses. So we'd like to run new services off a new line when we extend the 6. That way we know they got a good service and we know they're going to have better flow moving forward, and we know it'll be good. And then put a new 6-inch valve and tie it into the 12 as we come down here, and then eliminate this 4, make this dead, hook this in here, the 12 into the 6 and the 12 into the 8, and then be able to straight pipe this 6 through and shut the valve up here at the plant and eliminate that 4. Because right now the 4 is more problems than what it's worth for you. The thing is, to get from here to here though, is about $50,000. Now we do have, in money that we had allocated for the project, there is about $210,000 of additional 0% loan money that we had originally put that we had in the project. So you do have money that you would do it that was kind of earmarked, but it wasn't money at this point that you'd spent. So it's something to whether you want to, if you just want to come to here, it's about $16,000. And if you want to go, no, I take that back. By the time we do the valves and stuff, it's about $20,000. And
So what are we doing different if it's 50 and 20?
this red circle here is 20, which gets you out of the alley. This red circle here is 50. And it gets us to a better point of connection, and it gives us a better chance to completely eliminate the
Should be
4.
done correctly.
Is there any contingency monies in that 50, or is that really, you don't see that you don't foresee any problems that you would need a contingency?
No, the 50 pretty much covers the contingency.
Okay.
Yeah.
So could it be
That would
less
be-
than 50?
It could be, but it wouldn't be much.
I'm just, no.
Yeah.
No.
Looking for a bargain.
Yeah.
I'm in for bargaining here.
So the 4-inch runs west of the substation then, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It kind of jogs all over the world.
When was that done?
Don't know, there's a map from 70 that it wasn't on, and there was another map that it was on that did have a date.
Yeah, I think it was pre-70, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Aaron, do you know if, do we think that's the last of the 4-inch in the village?
Oh, no, you got a bunch of 4 in there.
Oh.
there's a bunch of 4, there's a bunch of 6, and of that, a lot of it is the AC pipe,
And I apologize, AC means
all concrete.
all concrete. Okay, thank you.
Which, I mean, that pipe's lasted you for 50 years, so it's definitely got its useful life.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, it will be okay. The issue is if anything disturbs it at all, it's so old, it doesn't crack, it cracks horizontally. So the crack just keeps running. So if you ever have a break in it with the village, it's about impossible. You gotta get lucky and get to a good spot where you can fix it. Otherwise, it'll just keep fracturing
And how do you know that it's broken?
you find water running in the storm sewer.
Yeah, where you're pumping 300,000 gallons, we always put 1,200, so. You start looking.
And sometimes you're pumping water and you don't catch it right away, because it
Absolutely.
might just be a little pinhole leak.
So,
And so, yeah, so that's,
so my question from the financial side of it is, we have the grant, 500,000 of it was a loan, right, on top of the grant.
Yeah.
Is this 250,000 you're talking about part of that 500,000, or would that 500,000 now become 700,000?
it's part of the loan money.
It's part of the 500.
It stays within the project. If we
It's-
know
yeah,
it goes
it's-
outside
it's-
of
It's the way it was set up, that's why I
No.
said, it's the money that was originally allocated for the project.
I'm just
Yep.
trying to clarify
No,
in my mind
no,
what
no
we're
problem.
gonna vote on here. If we're gonna
My
vote.
thing would be, how much would that make our payments go up?
We already have the loan money. We're
Yeah,
already
you've
making
already,
payments on it.
yeah.
But aren't we gonna be paying?
Well, yeah, so if you wanna look at it that way, if you borrow, I'm gonna use round numbers because it makes it easier. If you borrow an additional 60,000, it's $2,000 a year for 30 years. Cause this is set at 0%, and it's over 30 years. So, right now, as everybody knows with the way interest rates went, I hate to say it, whatever you need to do, I would use this 0% money, because chances of getting 0% money again for things aren't real good.
It's gonna be short-lived.
Yeah.
So, do we need a motion? Do we,
You don't necessarily, I guess I'd turn to the attorney, you don't really have to have a motion for it. You just need to say, I guess I guess you'd want a positive, you'd wanna make sure everybody on council is on board with it.
well, I think the easiest way to do that is I
Yeah,
make
you
a
can do a
motion that we
motion.
support
Yeah, that's fine.
extending and replacing that 4-inch line from West Wapakoneta Street through the alley and then through the park and abandon the old 4-inch line. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And I don't have to say to your red dot, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
To the south of substation.
Yeah.
In the amount of $50,000.
Yeah.
Do you make the motion?
I second it.
I did. That was what that
Okay.
was.
I second the second part.
Okay, so Nichols makes a motion, seconded by Ball, to extend and replace the 4-inch line. Craig, help me out here.
To extend the, 12-inch line,
The 12
to the south of the substation,
inch.
to where it can connect in with the 8-inch, existing 8-inch and 6-inch water line.
So those old maps didn't show you where the shut off was that you're looking for?
You
I
said-
should give you, it's an 8.5 by 11.
I apologize. Extending and replacing the 12-inch line south of the substation to where it can connect into the existing 8-inch line.
Yeah,
Is that all?
that's good enough. I don't
In
know.
the amount of $50,000?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Just to be clear and clear.
I just want to make sure I'm accurate here. Okay, Ball?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Mater?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Walty?
Yes.
Weingartner?
Okay. Now, as the contractor's working on this, through town here, their goal is weather dependent here. They've had a pretty good run up to this point, but, it'd be nice if it would freeze, quite honestly. They're hoping that come 3rd week of March, 4th week of March, they'll be ready to completely close the road, put these barricades up, so they'll start taking the entire street out at that point, and rebuilding it and getting it ready for a new curve along there. So the way it'll go is they'll take the street out, they'll be, well, I guess I should say, they'll get the water line all run out here first, like we talked about. And once that's done and that's been tested, then they'll start taking all the street out. Once they take the street all out, they'll come through, they'll get all the sub-base in, and then they'll run curbs. And they get the curbs done, then they'll come in behind that with doing the drive approaches and the sidewalks. And then the last thing they'll do when they come through is build the street back up and pave it. So that's pretty much what you'll be looking at as far as the schedule of how the street will go.
You said on the, road access, because I know the residents are gonna wanna know this, we're already gonna ask this question. From inside the village, will there be access if I'm going south on Westminster Street to the square, or some way to get to the west end of town to get to Dollar General?
Oh.
Yeah, no, that.
Oh, well, you
So-
can take Mike's alley.
Well,
Yeah.
will there be,
Yeah,
without
for a
going,
certain period
No
of
access
time.
there. We tried to do that, but it was stopped.
Yeah, for a certain period of time, it's gonna be limited access.
so people who, and in general, anybody in town then, to get to Dollar General may have to go outside of town and go down and come
Yeah,
back.
it'll probably be about,
96, like they were gonna.
I mean, it's gonna be stoned, and it's gonna kind of be rough, and during the day, the contractor's obviously gonna be working on different parts, so it's gonna be very limited access at that point. Now, when they shut down at night and they stop working, the road will be closed, but it'll be open to local traffic, so you'll be able to kind of go through slowly. It's not gonna be a road that you can go faster than 5 mile an hour on.
Right.
but you'd be able to go to the dollar store potentially then, as long as the police department doesn't pick you up for driving on a closed road.
I don't wanna take the cruiser on that, cause
No,
we did that on the.
No,
So-
I know, but what I was gonna say, everybody should kinda have a feel, it's gonna be about a 2-month window. That's really about how long the road will be
Completely closed?
Yes, and it probably, depending, it might not actually be quite that long, but that's probably about roughly what it'll be.
So will the road be good in front of the store?
It'll be getting worked on a little bit in front of the store too.
I was just gonna say, I went down and took the first road, which is not middle, but the first one.
Yeah, you'll be able to go out and around in the country, but it'll be a 2-mile trip.
Yeah, I guess I'm still kind of confused with what you're saying. How is a school bus, and you talk to them, how is a school bus going to safely do what they're doing?
I explained to the school, I spoke with the transportation supervisor and said, for a period of time, the road's gonna be closed down,
Yeah.
and a bus will not be able to get through there.
Okay,
And
exactly.
they're gonna make contact with the families that are affected and basically say, you know, we will get our bus to a pickup point, to where, you know, your kids are gonna have to get there, or you can choose to bring your kids to the school. So,
Yep.
so the school is aware, the
Okay.
transportation supervisor said, we'll work through it, as soon as we know, you said around the 3rd week of March.
Yeah,
Um,
4th week.
And this transportation supervisor drives through town, so she knows that, you know, when the signs all start to pop up, you know, we know that the road's gonna be closed down, but I stay in regular communication with her.
But you know,
But-
Nathan, young kids, it's a
Absolutely.
change for them.
Yep,
They
it
don't
is,
like
well,
change.
more so the adults, the kids,
Yeah, okay.
kids change pretty easily, but it's the adults that I have a problem with, but
The
but
adults
the
can't
school,
get through.
the school is aware, and they have a plan and process to communicate with the families.
And we didn't end up having any really big issues when we did Northwest Minster that I remember with the
No.
school.
No.
And
They
it,
said they would
the
get
same.
Southwest Master Street, that's
Yeah,
right down too.
Yeah, it was following the same thing.
The issue is, it seems like the west end of town only has fewer alternative routes to get around than the other quadrants of the village has. And so when you close down West Wapakoneta Street, there's not really an alternate way to get
Right.
to Dollar General other than to go all the way around and out into the country and go 2 miles. And I just think our residents,
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna happen, it's great, we're doing good things.
2
We
miles
just
is
need,
not.
we just need to, some of the elderly though, or some of the people that
Well,
walk, that's gonna be an issue.
If we have an EMS call, that 2 miles can make a big difference, but,
Yeah.
you know, that's just part of progress, unfortunately, sometimes you have that, so. Yeah, I know the fire department's aware, Uniopolis Fire Department questioned as well, because they provide mutual aid, and I said, well, we'll
And
get
that's
additional
their straight
information.
route into town.
Exactly, so, you know, there will be information put out to first responders, letting them know that the road's gonna be closed, and the sheriff's office too, I mean, anybody that uses that road. This isn't the first construction project.
House will be closed.
It can, but it has to go state route, to state route.
Huh?
It can, but it has to be detoured state route, to state route.
Okay.
I guess my other question, Craig, is, as we look at planning for this, and I know you've set approximate dates, as we get closer, how much of a window, I'm having a hard time wording this, when we know more accurately about, okay, we're gonna shut down in 2 weeks, or in a week, or can we go, what's the length of, 2 weeks? 1 day? You know, how much opportunity? When you actually close, so we notify, we're gonna have 2 weeks to notify?
Do you want a week or do you want 2 weeks? What would
Got a
you
little
want?
sign that says. it
Well,
will be closed
I
on-
know that the state will have to do something, you know, and begin talking about that because of doing that. I'm just saying for our residents, you know, I would love to see them have a couple weeks' notice that, you know, in 2 weeks it's gonna be shut down, or, it's up to you.
don't
I
have
just
a
don't
date
want it to
that
be
says it'll
24
be
hours
closed during
and
blah,
it's
blah, blah.
done.
Well, the trick is nobody's posting anything saying any of those stuff now because you really don't know what the weather's
Well,
gonna be
yeah,
this
I mean,
time of
but
year.
when you
But
get
once they do,
closer-
once they are closer, yes, they will post that this is gonna be closed from this date to this date.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, to give somebody, if you're looking for more than like 2 weeks, I mean, if you talk to residents right now, I would tell them, figure it's gonna close March 20th,
Mhm.
and be closed from March 20th to June 20th.
Okay, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good information.
Now, it could slide easily a week or two.
And they'll be happy.
Yeah,
Or-
but if you wanna have rough dates right now, those are the dates I would basically be. So, I mean, that's 3 weeks from today, or 3 weeks from now, pretty much.
Right. And there'll be no parking in the evenings along that once they start tearing that out?
See, and it varies different places, because there are some places where people will park on the stone, they just need to be gone in the morning.
Okay.
Now, we can talk to Deegan about that, every contractor's a little different, some people like to just keep them completely off. But a lot of times, they're not too worried about somebody parking on the stone in the evening.
Okay.
They just.
They want them gone in the morning so they can get started.
Yep, and they need to be aware that when the road's marked closed, I don't know how many people saw the lady in Dayton drive into the trench here, beginning part of this week.
Our trench?
No, in Dayton.
In Dayton, she drove into a construction zone and drove straight into a trench. They tried to stop her, she wouldn't stop. But for people to be aware, if you are gonna be driving and you're gonna be doing something, you're doing it on a closed road. So you wanna be going incredibly slow and paying absolute attention, because there's a reason that the road is closed.
Yes.
And another thing, will be, say to the people, when people are working on the highways, sometimes people will whiz by, and I've heard the story that they actually took a man's legs out.
This one in Dayton, if you just saw the video of it, the guy was running out of the trench as the car was falling in. He got luckier than heck to get out of the way of the thing. So,
We want to keep those workers safe too.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, is there anything I forgot?
I think you hit everything. I haven't done my report yet, but you brought me your letter of recommendation for the meters that we'll touch on here in a little bit. And I guess if anybody else has questions for Craig, now's the time.
Yeah. If you don't have anything for me, I'll let my chauffeur drive me home. I got a permit driver sitting in my car waiting for me.
Craig, I have a question. Do
You
you
are
have
afraid so.
anybody playing basketball down in your neighborhood that's related to you?
Yeah, I got plenty that are related to me, and none of them are my kids.
So has your, temporary driven in the dark before?
Oh, yeah. No, we're in good shape. He's a better driver than I am. All right,
Thanks, Craig.
At some point, can we get a big copy of that to hang outside? Maybe not with the water thing, but just the whole.
Oh, yeah, yep.
To help with our meeting are you coming to the meeting in March?
Yeah, and this, I would probably blow up a page of the street for the meeting, because this is more for the storms who are going through the park and the water. So at your meeting, people are gonna want to see more of the street.
Yeah, that when you send it, we have taped up there. It'd be nice if you could get a satellite image so people are seeing houses.
Yeah, put the aerial behind it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that gives them point of reference, but.
Yep, no problem.
Thanks, Craig.
Wear your seatbelt.
Yep.
All right. Go to minutes, report.
Okay, I'm gonna tag on just a little bit with what Craig said. As far as the project, I think we're pretty much up to date on that. We did have bid opening last Friday for the meters. Craig does have a letter of recommendation here for it. The total amount for water and electric meters come in at $238,620. It's pretty close to what last quote that was given. That was back in November, so when we're done, or we can do it now, we'd like to have a resolution to proceed.
Can you give that amount, please?
Yep, it is.
238,620.
Yep.
And is that delivery of the electric meters yet this year?
They're not 100% sure. They did say that things are looking better. They thought that the electric meters could be this calendar year, but they couldn't guarantee anything. What they'll do is they'll send us 6 to a dozen meters and make sure that they fit and they work as they should. And once they do that, they'll put the order in for those, and then the plant switches to only Waynesfield meters, because it'll say go to Waynesfield right on the meter, and then just punch out 475 meters for us.
So will the $238,000 that we're going to
Around there.
accept the bid for, the potential is that we will not expend that total amount in this calendar year?
No, it won't go over the 238,
No, what I'm
620.
saying is, if the electric meters are not delivered until next year, I guess I'll ask it differently. If the electric meters are not delivered until 2024, are we going to have to pay up front for them, or is that going to be,
No, we'll
Pay
pay
out
for,
of-
we'll pay
so
for the
it'll be
meters
less
as
than-
they're delivered.
so it'd be what we may actually pay may be less?
So the electric portion of it is 105,350.
Okay. So this actually would be resolution 2-1, that's right. This one was wrong with here.
Yeah, because we didn't use the resolution for one, so this is one.
Right, 23-2-1.
And what's the company?
EJ Prescott had their low bid.
And that's, this dollar amount is solely for the meters. There is not any money inside this cost for installation.
Correct.
And you said you guys get to install them?
The electric meters, yes, and then the water, we did have some money built in for installation.
What was actually appropriated, Aaron, do you remember?
I believe it was 240 without looking at it.
That's what I was thinking.
240?
240, 250.
I know I looked back
Well-
at it when the bids come in and it was
That-
under.
That's a couple of months ago. Yeah.
Oh, no, I was wondering if that was on the appropriation status, but probably not. Okay.
You want this done, Lane, before you go and do the report?
If you want to do it now, otherwise I can finish the report and then do it at the end.
I'll make a motion, we adopt resolution 23-2-1. Emergency resolution to accept the approval for bids of new water electric meters from the EJ Prescott Company in the amount of $238,620.
That's no.
That's total, yeah.
Okay, so we need to declare an emergency. So a motion to suspend the rules of 3 readings
Okay, I'll make a motion to suspend the rule of 3 readings to adopt resolution 23-2-1.
and declare emergency, okay. And then a second,
I'm second, Nathan.
okay. This is to suspend the rules of 3 readings. Ball?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Mater?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes,
Walty?
Yes.
Weingartner?
Yes.
Then we need a motion to pass resolution 23-2-1 for the bid from EJ Prescott for the water and electric meters as presented.
Hey, you said that very well. Go ahead, Bob.
I'll make a motion to pass resolution 23-2-1 to adopt the bid from EJ Prescott and Company for the electric and water meters.
I second.
Ball?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Mater?
Yes.
Nichols?
yes.
Walty?
Yes.
Weingartner?
Yes.
Thank you, I'll go ahead and pass that on tomorrow, and that way we can get our order in and stay on track.
Because we didn't do the bills by resolution.
I think we touched on everything. The only other thing I wanted to kind of touch base was on the electric. AMP did get back with me on the Moyer Road. They went out to Paul's property and found that they had some equipment out there that when it started, it pulled the power way down. So what their recommendation is, and I haven't talked to Mark yet, to talk with Mark and let him know that we can either put he would have to put in a larger service. He has a 200 amp, have to go to 400 amp, or see once about putting soft starts on those pieces of equipment that it didn't draw down so fast.
So my question is, how does the salt start? who's paying for that and
Both of those things that would need to be done would be on his end.
which one's more economical?
I can't answer that. That'd be a question for him to have somebody come out and an electrician to have him look at the motors for the soft starts and then on the 200 amp. If he would go from 200 to 400, I did talk to Amp and they would be right on the borderline on the transformer that he has.
That's what's just gonna happen.
So instead of having a 50, we would take that 50 off, put it back in our supply, and we would put 100 up. That way, we're doing our due diligence on our end. That way, if he does his, that would probably be, in my opinion, the more expensive side of things, that he has ample amount coming off the transformer.
The wire is large enough?
Yes.
that-
Yep.
okay.
So the,
Let's fix the situation then for the whole road.
For the most part, yeah. Amp said that draw, with him being at the end, would definitely make at least the next house before him light splitter.
Wow.
It pulled that hard, it pulled that low.
probably not gonna be caused by that.
And then I did get back with Amp on some things as far as training. There's some other things I need to talk to them about and get clearer on that, so I'd rather wait for next council meeting and the service committee or utilities committee to talk about that. I believe that's all I had in for questions.
When, well, the last minute, it was said that, with the committee report that discussed about the, sending out notifications, that was, I thought it was gonna go out in February for the notice of the tax increase.
For the kilowatt tax?
Yeah.
Yep, it went out, it goes out with these bills.
Well, I thought it was going out January, February, but no, it's going out now.
Yep, yep,
Okay.
yep,
Yeah, because of our,
Is the kilowatt hour tax being charged on the bill that's going out?
correct.
So we're sending notification at the same time we're increasing.
Mhm.
We didn't give prior notification of the increase.
Because I was understanding we was going to let them know if it's going to happen, we're going to have a month delay.
Mhm. Yeah, and the way Mary and I talked, and Bill, you and I talked about it, and I think we were under the impression that it was going to be that the letters went out. Because originally we talked about just going to the highest users. And then we decided to go to every resident, and then we'll just go into the bill that was included in on.
Yeah, because
when
it
those
says
bills
right
go out, you
here,
might get in the car and do a speaker.
So they'll be in the mail
for
tomorrow.
January 11th, it was discussed, water electric meters, all village residents will receive letters about kilowatt per hour tax. That was what, the committee report, that was for the January,
Okay,
meeting.
okay.
So I thought we was gonna notify before we did the tax.
Okay, I was on me, and I missed that part. Because when that was brought up the last time, we talked about it and thought it was the other way.
So was that gonna be an issue, I guess?
You're gonna get complaints.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. Anytime, whether it's a tax or whether your rates go up, yeah, there'll be folks that have questions on it.
I'm sorry, and no, I'm not sorry. I don't think we should be charging, I feel like, I know, when I made the resolution, the ordinance motion to pass this, I said specifically that we needed to give prior notice, and that was 4 months ago. What does it take to review bills and take the kilowatt hour tax off and charge it next month instead of this month?
Are they already in the envelope?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're sealed and stamped and everything.
I don't think it's right. And that, it can't be changed. I just don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair to not have given, when we said we were going to given prior notice to raising someone's electric bill.
So we had, and I appreciate your point, and again, I'll take full credit on that one. Would that be considered with them having, since we had 3 readings on that?
The motion, and yes, we had 3 readings. My thing when I motioned was we had talked about that a letter would be sent out prior so that everyone, because not everyone watches this, not everyone reads everything,
that a letter would be sent to every person inside the electric bill. And you even talked about that you could send out 3 pieces of paper in an envelope without raising a stamp. I just am,
Are there?
I'm upset for the residents because they weren't given prior notice before we raised their rates, and that's what we did.
Would that, oh, everybody's getting it. Just thinking
Raising
of
the
the
rates.
people who are spending more.
So they're already upset because we had their electric bills were larger because of the way the meters had to be read last month. We got a ton of people, I got a ton of comments from people about that. And now we're gonna turn around and we're gonna raise the rates without giving them prior notice. And I said this before I got on council. Those of you who were elected, we were elected because we were going to provide more transparency and better communication to the residents. And I feel like we've fallen short of that with this.
So is there any way to split those open or steam them?
No, there's no way to do it now. The issue is that the council want to have the bills redone and eat the cost of postage that's on the pre-stamped envelopes and the cost it would have to have Bina redo it, or just let it.
Well, either way, the tax is gonna happen, but you're right, that, this gives people more opportunity just to be upset about it. And that's, go other way, so, but it's gonna happen no matter what, it's not the difference of not having it or having it, but, I think at this point, there's not much we can do other than try to explain, but it's gonna happen anyway, that's actually gonna happen.
If I'm I take stamps off that haven't been marked.
Yeah, it's just too much.
No, I do that.
Mhm.
So if we did a little, how many are we talking about?
450 bills.
You're talking about a lot. It's not.
I was just thinking if we sliced a little bit off the envelope, the side,
It's still.
took it out, put a new one in, and then just take it, but.
I don't know how the mail system would, if it
Oh,
would
they'll
go
take
through, but if it would go through, next thing you're up against on that would potentially be, they didn't get their bill, and they may not have, because it got chewed up in the machines, because a lot of that's animated with it.
I like to take my thing shut, but.
Those bills are already done and they don't come out until 17th.
That's
They're due on the 17th.
Everybody gets so many people to call.
Just, all right, I guess the other, since we're on that, Aaron, I'll ask this question, and I would assume you'll need to get back to us about it. I had a resident stop me in the grocery store and indicated, and I will be happy in private to tell you who the resident was, so you can investigate it, but that they were charged a $7 fee to use their debit card to pay their electric bill.
I believe it's a percentage, and that's not the towns, that's the credit cards.
3%.
And it's
Wow.
3%.
What?
Maybe it's $7, but it's 3%.
Why would they have to
Even to a debit card, not a credit card?
They got the wrong bank.
Yeah, everybody's doing it now. Back in my business, you couldn't do it,
I have a good bank that doesn't.
Okay, well, I was just, I didn't know, I was like, wow, I don't pay by credit card.
Because sometimes it's cheaper for the folks to use the ATM out there than it is to get charged the amount.
Well, I know they were shocked, they had never done it before, and they did it, and it was like, holy.
There's no way to know that there's gonna be a charge?
Well, they know there's gonna be a charge,
Yeah.
but they didn't
You
know it
agree
was
to it.
$7, you know.
The bill, the charge is contingent upon what the total bill is. GovPay.net is the entity that the village uses, for credit and debit cards. And prior to the submitting of the transaction, they're notified this is what this is gonna cost. But it is, if they've got a $1,000 utility bill, then the finance charge is gonna be a lot higher than if it's a $100 charge.
Well, if it's 3%, it's 3% of whatever the bill is.
Correct.
Does the village have to use this particular entity to do the credit cards?
So if we use someone else, it's gonna be higher.
Okay.
GovPay, when we first put this into play, we checked around and do it privately, and it was gonna be, in some cases, 4% and 5%. I mean, it was
Okay.
pretty extreme.
Okay.
But the nice thing about GovPay is when an individual does a transaction through GovPay, the village is guaranteed the funds. So if the individual uses their debit card and they have insufficient funds in their account, the village is still going to get the amount that is approved.
And that's sure.
GovPay will then, the village will still receive it. The reason the finance charge is charged is because GovPay then will go after the person that used the service. So the village doesn't become a collection agency or anything like that. So the village has protection because we're guaranteed those funds. That was another huge benefit from going with a private, credit card swiping company or whatever, because we're guaranteed the funds. So if somebody does a stop payment or they have insufficient funds, then we still receive the payment.
Well, I mean, that's good information, and certainly that helps me answer questions when somebody comes up and says, hey.
And when they come in to pay, if they come in to pay or they pay online, they just have to read. But when they come in to pay, Bina will tell them there's a service charge that the village doesn't collect, that it's the third party.
And she did.
Yeah.
They just didn't realize it was gonna be that much.
And
So it was already done.
Yeah, some people will opt against it. They'll say, no, I don't wanna do this, and then
Right.
still use the ATM or go to their bank or what have you. But there are some individuals that will, that have to pay in cash too, because they have bounced checks here, and once they bounce the check, then it becomes a cash
Sure,
flow.
it's cash flow, sure. Yeah, I mean, we don't wanna do anything that's going to jeopardize the village getting its funds, so we need to do what we need to do, but that helps me a lot. I kinda thought maybe it was a 3 or 4%, but I wasn't sure.
Is there a way of just posting that so people will see it prior to?
When you go to GovPay, when you go on the website, if you want to pay online or if you come in here to pay, she will tell you that this is the amount that you're going to pay. This is the $7 as a service charge or what have you. You go online and pay. You can go online and pay and set up your bank accounts through the online portal and not get charged a service fee. But if you use a credit or debit card, you're going to get charged a service fee. But like, for instance, myself, I pay my utility bill online and I link my bank account, so it's an ACH transfer and there's no fees there.
Now, unfortunately, we have residents who don't have
I just
bank
thought
accounts.
we could say it's 3% added.
Please, thank you, I appreciate that. I pass that on if they don't watch this video.
That's why.
Any other questions for Aaron? Okay, mayor's report, in the mayor's court, there was $340 deposited in the general fund for the month of January. Any old business? Okay, new business?
We already did this.
So this new business is what we already did, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is right
Yeah,
there.
we did that one, you gotta go to the next one.
I'll make a motion, we go to executive session to discuss the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, and compensation of a public employee or official with the mayor, village administrator, and fiscal officer.
A second. Walton.
Ball,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Mater,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Walty,
Yes.
Weingartner.
Yes.
Okay, time is 7:59. Give me 1 second while I cut the sound, and then Aaron's gonna move the computer, and then I will be in the back. I'm getting ready. I'll let you know as soon as the microphone's back.
I gotta be able to see people's faces.
Walby,
Yes.
Mater,
Yes.
Weingartner,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
and Nichols. I'm sure you can get a,
Good job.
you can turn your signs around.
Okay,
Okay.
your first and your second. You already wrote it down.
Alrighty.
So what would it be, 2322?
I wanna recommend Sarah Montgomery as for physical officer.
So then council needs to make a motion to pass whatever ordinance number it's going to be.
Would be 23-2-1, right?
No,
Yes.
Ordinance number.
it's different.
To hire Sarah Montgomery.
At the rate of 42
-2, yeah.
Dash one.
Ordinance.
You get that, David, 42,640.
42,640
Okay, that's what it is, okay.
annual.
Do we say that she doesn't need the benefits, or the benefits?
No,
There's a.
no, those are,
I don't know.
do you need me to type this up and send it to you, Lauren, the ordinance? Just let me know.
Okay, okay, who has the first?
Nobody's done anything.
Do we have a first for that? Somebody gonna make the motion?
I can make a motion that whatever Rodney said, no, that, his position for Sarah.
To pass ordinance.
Ball makes a motion for council to pass ordinance. Yeah, so we first need to suspend the rules of 3 readings.
No. Come on, Tim.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rule of 3 readings.
Second?
Second.
Ball,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Mater,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Walty,
Yes.
Weingartner.
Yes.
And then I need a motion to pass ordinance 23-2-1 to hire Sarah Montgomery at a rate of $42,640 annually.
Can I read?
I'll make a motion to hire Sarah Montgomery, ordinance 23-2-1, for the fiscal officer at the rate of pay of $20.50 per hour.
I second.
Ball,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Mater, Nichols,
No.
Mater, I didn't get a vote, I'm sorry.
No.
Mater and Nichols, no. Walty,
No.
Weingartner,
No.
Might be a yes. Who is that? Where are we?
Deb?
Are we saying these people are not eligible?
We said no to that
We
ordinance.
said no to the ordinance of hiring Sarah, but it's fiscal officer.
I understand that, but anyway, that it's, are we
It's
gonna,
done.
are we gonna keep her as a,
It's done. I don't know.
We have to tell him whether he wants to interview anymore.
I'm sorry, Miller, did you say yes or no?
I said yes.
Yes, okay. Ball and Miller said yes, everyone else said no. I just want to make sure I'm correct.
Okay.
Commissioner's report?
Okay, well, with that going forward, you did not pass to hire a fiscal officer, so you guys are back to square one, I guess. So we need to go forward with that process. Nichols brought me she talked to me about, I'm not sure if everyone's seen it, but
It's not public knowledge yet.
Okay, well, there is a audit report out, which you guys as council probably need to look at. There is some non-compliance issues on the audit report. Nothing drastic. Most of it has either already been corrected, or a lot of it is again, the audit was 2020 through 2021? Yeah, but typically the auditors will let you guys comment on any of the stuff that they find. But, so if you guys wanna look at it, do they all have copies of it?
They won't email copies.
Okay, just look at it. The non-compliance things, there's only 8. Like I said, I just quickly read through it. None of it is drastic. Most of it is either already been corrected or in the process of being corrected. So I just wanted to talk to you guys about that. So if you guys have any questions about that, some of that stuff, you can reach out to me. There was something about the records retention schedule and the records retention policy, stuff like that, which I know you guys are working on that. Spencerville has a pretty good one on how long they keep certain records and all that, so you can reach out to Spencerville and ask them if you need help with that. It's pretty easy. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Did you have an opportunity, Jeff, to look at that application that I gave to you at last month's meeting?
The one that was asked on the personal information, I think I said stay away from it, but
Right.
the other application's fine.
Okay. And if that's okay with council, then I'll bring it forward at next month's meeting and we can decide if we want to adopt that application, wherever, how you want to do it, but we should have an actual application. You know, we're dealing with resumes right now, so application may clear up some of the issues that we're not getting all the information on.
Other than that, that's all I have.
Motion to adjourn.
Wait, I have some questions. I'm not clear on what you're doing in regards to hiring, because my timeline's not indefinite. I was under the understanding that when you and I first talked, I thought you had 2 candidates then, and you were ready to hire. Then it turned into 4 candidates and 2 interviews, and now we're at this meeting, and I don't see an end in sight, and I don't have time.
You actually have 5.
Okay, well, I originally thought
6
there were
interviews.
2, and it went to 4, and so,
There was originally, Laura, in defense, we had 2 interviews and we were meeting to discuss those 2 when I talked to you.
okay.
That,
I don't have the time to give you full time, and you need full time. So I hate to see you adjourn and walk out of here without a plan, because something has to be in place.
Do we go to executive session again? Talk about personnel?
we
And
can't,
move, have we gone to executive session?
and you have
Talk
to,
about personnel, hiring?
have to read whatever that was, where's that? To discuss appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official with the mayor, village administrator, and fiscal officer. Waltie's making that motion, I'll second it.
We're going to go back to executive session.
Yep.
Ball?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Mater?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Wolfe?
Yes.
Weingartner?
Yes.
Okay, second executive session begins at 8:54 PM. 1 second while I go, just take the time, or not take the time, stop the, sound. Yeah, something like that. Okay.
Nichols
Wait.
first, Motter second.
No, Miller before me.
No, I first,
No,
you
I
seconded.
seconded, yeah.
We haven't voted yet.
Haven't voted yet. Where's Mulder?
Hold on, we haven't voted, Bo. Bo, we have to vote, wait.
You've been up before. You've been up before.
No, it's fine.
Okay,
Fine.
you've been up before me, because you're like.
Okay, the microphone's live, so are we good?
We're voting to come out of executive session.
Oh, well, that's public.
Yeah. All right.
So the motion's been made and seconded to come out of executive session. Nathan or Laura, you wanna call the roll?
Ball. Ball?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Motter?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Walty?
Yes.
Weingartner?
Yes.
So we have to have a new resolution number then,
New
right,
ordinance, yes.
or new ordinance. So I make a motion to declare an emergency,
Suspend the rules.
suspend the rules of 3 readings to adopt ordinance 23-2-2. An ordinance to hire Sarah Montgomery
Yeah.
as fiscal officer.
Yeah, same rate of pay. What's the rate of pay again?
2050.
Annual salary of $42,640.
Sorry, his screen went up, so.
I second.
Hold on 1 second. Wall seconded the suspension. All right.
Now, this will be pending, she fills out an application, right? And precious,
Okay, right now, we're just suspending the rules of 3 readings.
No, but we're not gonna make that enough.
To suspend the rules of 3 readings, roll call Ball,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Motter,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Walty,
Yes.
Weingartner.
Yes.
Okay. Now you want motion,
A motion to pass ordinance 23-2-2, an ordinance to hire Sarah Montgomery as fiscal officer at an annual salary rate of $42,640.
do you have any contingencies, or is that,
No.
No.
okay, okay,
I second.
okay, so we got, Ball seconded. Motion to pass ordinance 23-2-2, an ordinance to hire Sarah Montgomery as the fiscal officer at an annual salary of $42,640, seconded by Ball, motion made by Nichols.
And I'll amend it to say to start as soon as possible. Do we need that in there, Jeff, or does it matter?
Start date, yeah.
To begin as soon as possible. Okay. Ball,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Motter,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Walty,
Yes.
Weingartner.
Yes.
Clean that up later.
I make the motion to adjourn.
Amen.
I'll second. Nichols,
Motter,
Motter first.
Nichols,
Something.
Ball.
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Motter,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Walty,
Yes.
Weingartner.
You're still in court. And everybody else is
We got those, they want her again.
sign.
Yeah.